Okay. Hi, hello. Welcome back to Creative Diaries. My name is Lillian. I am your host. And I'm coming at you from upstate New York, where it is very cloudy and rainy today. I just came back from a walk in the woods in the rain, and I'm feeling very cozy here. Usually, I like to do my recordings during the day when there's nice sunlight coming at me. Um, but this feels um, really nice to be here, sort of in the darkness. There's some sounds of rain happening outside. So I thought it would be a good moment to hop on the microphone and share with you what I've been moving through and processing for myself. So, first and foremost, I have now initiated doing podcast episodes for paid subscribers. And this is happening for multiple reasons and inspirations. One, because I have found that as I am engaging more and more with my writing practice, as well as speaking and expressing myself, the more I'm engaging with it, the more wants to come out. More wants to come out. I was telling my therapist the other day that I feel like a baby that's learning how to speak. Uh, I think we all know that. I think we all know the type. That little kid who starts, they start babbling and hearing the sound of their own voice and getting reactions from their caregivers, and just this learning to speak through speaking, through action, and then they become this really loquacious kid that wants to talk, 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 talk. And so that's sort of the energy that I've been with myself, where it's like the more I'm utilizing my voice and the more I'm kind of opening, the more I am feeling the momentum of what I'm learning through expressing myself and through being in action. So that's my first inspiration, was that I just want to share more. And so I was like, okay, I can give myself permission to show up more for this podcast. Another thing that I've been thinking about too is, which I would like to speak a little bit more about in this episode, is safe containers, or creating a sense of safety within the creative containers that we choose to engage in. And so, what I like about Substack and what I like about this idea of subscribers and even paid subscribers is that it's just a smaller audience. It's a smaller net of connection. It's a smaller container. And I've always really loved smaller, more intimate groups and group containers. Um, Even in the classes that I teach, I'm always extremely satisfied with a smaller group rather than having a large group. Um, Even though larger groups have their fun to it, and, the energy is different than a smaller group. But what I really appreciate is the intimacy that a small group and small group connections and communities can actually facilitate more depth and deeper levels of connection. And for me, a sense of safety. It fits for my nervous system. It fits for how I can be with you and to digest my experiences. Um, so yeah, I make no promises around how often these episodes will come out. This is all part of the emergent strategy, the strategy that's sort of guiding me, and I'm following my nose here. I'm following my inspiration and seeing just where it takes me. Um, I've always had this idea that I am an inconsistent person, like an inconsistent creator. I have inconsistent habits. And I've really been working with this concept of consistency. and working with myself around, well, how can I show up, right? I'm in this grand experiment of like, how can I keep showing up to the work that I love and the the things that I love to do. Um, and giving myself allowance and permission to be on my own rhythm and on my own schedule. So there's a lot that is actually very actively being deconditioned within myself around messages, around needing to have a daily practice and to show up daily. And so I'm in a bit of a rebellious stage. Well, I should say I was rebelling for a really long time, and now I feel like I'm integrating. So it feels like the pendulum swung in one direction where one day I was like, fuck this consistency thing, and fuck the patriarchy and fuck capitalism, all of this really feeling very restricted by the structures and sort of these power structures outside of myself that I've internalized, that I've created these ideas that I'm supposed to work in a certain way or I'm supposed to show up in a certain way. And I was like, wow, this is not authentic to me or my lived experience inside of my body. So for a while, I rebelled against that, where I simply just followed whatever flow I was in. And that, even of itself, that was the first layer of sort of deconditioning, right? Just total and pure allowance, just allowance to listen to my body, to ride whatever wave I was on. And after doing that for a while, something else started to happen. I started to feel like I really started to desire some kind of consistency. I still was grappling with this feeling of not being able to have a ground, a kind of ground to put my feet on and to press against and to find traction underneath me. And really desiring something to grow and to build, right? My creative practice, my art, as well as my business, right? And so now kind of circling back to this idea of showing up consistently, I'm reworking what that means for myself and integrating this more bottom up approach where I'm just feeling and following intuitively and impulsively, as well as now I'm finally coming back to the structure and the container and how I can create a structure and container that actually works for me, that actually works for me. And something else that I'm practicing, even just by showing up and speaking, is really not putting myself in a position of authority where I feel like my way is the way that will work for other people, or, I'm not here to teach, but I'm here to share my experiences, to share ideas that might kind of spark or awaken something in you. However, I have deeply, deeply fallen down the rabbit hole of feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I don't know myself. So let me listen to other people. Let me take other people's advice. Let me take other people's structures, their containers, their step 1, 2, 3, and try to do it. And it was like the more that I kept taking on someone else's structure, the more sort of rebellious tension I felt inside of me because it wasn't mine. I was putting on something that was not mine. So, as I'm integrating this for myself, I just want to name that I'm sharing my experience with you. And we're all going to have a very unique way of how we can work and kind of what turns us on. We're all going to have these different things that awaken us to that spark of creative energy and the spark of motivation. And sure, you can try these hacks and these tricks and tips to sort of get that energy flowing. And there's always going to be something intuitive to you. And so that's what I'm practicing for myself is both being in this emergent space of emptiness and listening, as well as holding the container, which actually is one of the main sort of tenets in an authentic movement practice. Authentic movement is a contemplative dance ritual practice that has been used in therapeutic settings. It kind of comes from the the dance therapy world, from the creative arts therapies, um, and it's very much utilized among movers and artists, and it's done in many different ways.